Bob Kudla of TradeGenius.co. I'm a member of Trade Genius, just so everybody knows. I belong to the group and I'm in chat all the time, and I am finding it very, very useful. So there's my endorsement of Trade Genius. And I wouldn't be on it and I wouldn't endorse it if I didn't like it. I'm very particular about such things. And I found it to be a great community. I'm more of a crypto side of things, but I must admit that Trade Genius, being around the people, is starting to drag me into metals and then in the traditional market a bit more, which I never thought could happen. Thought I was a strictly crypto guy, but the Trade Genius crew, well, they're changing me. So anyhow, welcome to the show, Bob Kudla. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Craig. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm just in Arizona today. It's actually beginning to be winter. Our version of it, which just means it's not really hot, it's just hot. And that is a wonderful break this time of year. It's actually overcast today. Yes.
Yeah, and I live in Southern California, and we got our first winter rain today. So it's changes for everybody.
That's a good thing. I'll take the cold spell. I know some people aren't liking it too much, but I'll take it. So, right now it's an interesting day. I thought we'd just catch up with Bob Kula because I was reading this World War One soldier's diary, and he had this great line. It said, "An embryo thrives better in a state of chaos than in one of order. Lethargy is the enemy of all progress. Peace is hell." so, um, so today it looks like at least the mainstream media has announced that Biden won, but I don't think this is. I think this is far from over. I think it's just getting started. So we definitely have volatility to look forward into in the market. And how do you think the market is going to react to today's news as we roll into next week?
Yeah, so really there's three scenarios that come out. So, one is already passed, right? Trump just a direct victory. Okay. That has been superseded. Now there's two left. One is that we do all these recounts and legal machinations, and and Biden still comes out on top, or we have a situation where the the courts get involved and the election commissions and even some of the state legislatures get involved, and they basically install Trump back in as president. But there's one more, uh, I guess, a fish in the kettle here that has not really been spoken of, which could be and cause dramatic change to the not just the stock market, but not just the economy, but actually the nature of the United States itself. Is that we're 52-48 right now for the Senate, but both Georgia Senate races are probably going to go to a runoff. So that means we can literally end up with a 50-50 tie in the Senate, which means then if votes go the Democrats' way, or they're tied, they'll go to the Democrats. That means they'll have the three levers of power, and you can just imagine the mischief that will befall the nation if that happens. So it's going to be kind of a fate, and those elections aren't going to happen until January. So the eyes of the whole country are going to be on Georgia. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But let's just assume that the Republicans will keep the Senate, and we have a Biden presidency. That's going to be actually deflationary, because there's going to be an impulse by the Democrats to spend their way into generational power, and you're going to have the Senate Republicans are going to try to block that until they can get to the midterms. And the House is very vulnerable to a Republican takeover in the year 2022 because of the census and the shifts in the states that are picking up population, and even in the state legislatures themselves. So I don't think whoever takes power is not going to hold it past 2022. The lead in the House, I guess, is down to 10 votes. So I never seen the nation so evenly split, and I never seen the environment where their future views are so divergent. You would think with the country split right down the middle that people would be looking for common cause, but we created an environment here where the activists are actually leading the charge. So, on the one side, the one that we probably worry the most, full disclosure, I voted for Trump. I'm a nominal Republican. I'm more of a Trump kind of person than I am a Democrat, a Republican, because I think they've abandoned the American people. Is that the not just volatility we're going to have, but we're going to have an impulse that is not going to be conducive to economic, good economic wins, if you will. You're not going to have that vigor. People are going to be looking to defend versus to go on the offensive. So at Trade Genius, I mean, you're already seeing it coming. You're a crypto guy. Bitcoin's moving because the dollar was failing. Okay, and number two is that there's this talk for digital currency coming up, and digital currency is not cryptocurrency. I'm sure your listeners that do crypto should know that, because what the governments are talking about is more like a Ripple kind of environment, not a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin kind of environment, which means that they want to trap everybody inside the banking system, the ultimate cancel culture. So it's going to be interesting to watch there. So it's going to be the dollar dependent on crypto. Same with gold and silver. Crypto really ripped out. Gold and silver was more muted, but I think they're going to play catch up. And then I'll just take a breath here because I'm sure you have questions.
Well, yeah, the nations, the countries that want to do a currency, digital currency, yeah, it is just a centralized currency, and I think that China might be leading and actually rolling that out. But there always is that question of who's going to buy it. It'll work well, within the country, but is that going to be used for international commerce? I think that, as at least to me, has yet to be seen. But I think the national currencies, those are more about um, now, I'll show my bias here. Those are more about a technocracy, more about the ultimate cancel culture, I would say. So those, I don't know if anyone's going to really get into those. We shall see. I mean, it isn't like you have a choice in China per se. Where here, maybe you wouldn't have a choice either. There's ways they'll try to leverage that in, but we shall see. I know for myself, when I think of cryptocurrency, of course, we are thinking of, Bitcoin, especially. That's the easy one to reference. Everybody knows it. And that kind of is our true, to a great extent, decentralized currency, which really is a world currency, but just not in the new world order way. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people get excited about. And a story that I heard recently that, and I know some people like Iran, some people do not. It doesn't really matter one's view on the country. I mean, they are beginning to get around international tariffs by trading in Bitcoin. And I think that's something we might see, especially if we do get into currency wars and such. I think that's going to be something that we see, especially if a country's economy failed, like a Venezuela or something like that. There's always that possibility. I know some might think it's possible, some might think it just couldn't happen, but there's that possibility that a country with a failed economy just went, okay, we're going to go Bitcoin and Dash, and that's it. And that would change the way the world was doing business overnight. And I think it's starting to slowly.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can have a digital currency if nobody wants it for international trade. It's worthless. I think they're more interested in digital currencies to control their populations more than to really drive international trade. Although that's where it's going to be, I think, to start. Just to be more efficient, to transfer wealth back and forth. But I think people are the other reason I think cryptos, especially Bitcoin, is really starting to make a run here is that you're starting to see countries fail now. If you if you look at Turkey, the Turkish currency is going to fail, and so it's never been weaker against the dollar than it ever has been. And so those people there, they've gone through generations where gold was a mechanism for them, but they learned from watching the Greeks and the Maltese what happens when a sovereign tries to block your bank accounts. And so I'm sure there's a lot of conversion of what I would call excess wealth into something that's convertible. And for crypto, for Bitcoin, I hate the word that's a world currency, because that denotes that it is some sort of world sovereign. It's more like the ubiquitous currency in my view, because nobody owns it, and so, it's kind of like quantum, quantum mechanics. It's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so, that is the appeal to Bitcoin, but that's also going to be the flashpoint fight that you're going to have with sovereigns, because they don't want to give up. Look, you know, in our society here, we're racing down towards socialism because the Federal Reserve keeps pushing more currency in, and nobody has really met a consequence for bad acting. There used to be these, the bond vigilantes. Remember them? But now the Fed just buys all the bonds up. So, so it's going to come a point where there's going to be a consequence, and I think the sovereigns aren't going to react well to that. You look what happened today in Turkey. They fired their central bank chief, right? The president of the country. You're going to start seeing that more and more. So, you know, I think with the digital currency coming about, I think it's really, they're ready for the reset. They want to trap everybody into a system where they can't, their wealth can't escape it. And then they're going to go ahead and they're going to recalculate the value of everybody's currency and wipe out. I think they're only going to really wipe out the sovereign's debt. You know, I think if you have personal debt, I think you're going to be screwed. And so the bankers can then steal all your assets. So, and that's a topic for another conversation. How the banks, they never really fail. They fail into getting more of your assets, because they use fake money to buy, to collateralize your home and stuff like that. So that's why I think it's coming down the line regardless. So, Trump I think that's why they hated Trump so much, because he was the finger in the dike, and so he's been pushing hard against it. You can see now you're going to see probably a more malleable Congress, and we pray Joe Biden makes it for the 4 years, because Kamala Harris she's an unknown. You know, she's our attorney general. She's our senator. We really don't see much of her, other than she just reliably voted against Trump. So, she gets in charge. Look, she's never run anything ever in her entire life. And she's going to be handed the keys to the kingdom. And I think it's going to happen. And then I think your Bitcoin bets, Craig, will be it'll be well worth it. So, and I think gold and silver will take off then too.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, the economic reset, that's definitely a whole podcast topic right there, because that gets deep. Um, well, when it comes to Bitcoin and what's happening with it, I do note that, and I should have gathered some exact numbers before we talked, but Grayscale has been buying Bitcoin to a pretty large extent, and I should have gotten some exact numbers, but let's just say a lot. Pretty much as fast as it can be mined, they're pretty much buying it. Um, Also, I know some people think open interest makes a difference and some don't, but I would just note that the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the CME futures for Bitcoin, the open interest is the greatest it's ever been. So that can just mean that there's huge volume too. There's been volume the last couple of days that has been like I've never seen for Bitcoin. I mean, uh, billions more than it usually would have in the course of a day. And also, Bitcoin is, you can see it's being pulled off exchanges. So people aren't trading it. I mean, of course, they are trading it, but as it's being purchased, it's not staying on exchanges, which usually means that people mean to hold it, because some exchanges, like I consider them like trading exchanges, like a Binance, or a Bybit or something like that. Then you have exchanges that are more people don't mind keeping their Bitcoin there because they feel it's safe, like a Coinbase. It's not so much a trading exchange, but people buy and sell there and they keep it there. So anyway, but even there, people are not keeping their Bitcoin. So it seems that we're seeing a lot of indicators that point towards its value, its value at least staying sideways at the moment. Because when I think of how much Grayscale is buying, uh, I think to myself, I just if they're in the know, I don't see Bitcoin headed for a year of downtrend because their loss would be pretty epic at this point. Do you think that does Grayscale them stocking up on Bitcoin? Do you take that as a confidence in Bitcoin's market?
Yeah, so I'm familiar already with this because that's how GLD and SLV work too, is that they create the shortages and at the same time they create their own abundance, which causes these sharp moves down too. And so when you're watching open interest, it becomes a good guy, then it becomes a millstone because the people that are probably adding open interest are probably shorting this. And so because it takes a lot of margin to put those trades on, so it's not retail putting on open interest. Okay, that's the CME. It's the it's large leverage, large, well capitalized, well collateralized players, and what they're hoping to do is to catch the late longs and then crush them back. I noticed while we were talking, Phil just put out a note. You probably got it too.
I did.
That basically, hey, we were putting on a swing long entry, 14,750, 14,550. It looks like saying, hey, this is our view is we'll probably push into the 17,000s, 18,000. Then you're going to get a lot of people pushing for at least the double top, and we think that's probably going to be a short-term bull trap, and then it'll push back down. And once we find support there, then I think then the launch over new highs become. Bitcoin is, as you know, you've been trading for a long time. It's not like you're trading Apple. It's not just going to grind one way or grind the other. It's really it's an emotional asset because the float's so low. It's like almost like trading a penny stock, if you will, because of the basically the tradable volume versus the total amount of shares outstanding. I think we're like almost like 90% is not traded, and so it creates these short-term squeezes. But as soon as that squeeze is over, it creates these short-term trapdoors too. But we're convinced now we'll never see anything under 10,000 anymore. And I'm not suggesting it will be. I'm not making that market call, but I'm saying there's a solid floor now under Bitcoin. So, if you start seeing 20 or 30% pullbacks, you're smart to just add to those dips. And you just have to look at what happened between the last halving into the end of 2017, just kind of see what kind of moves. You're looking at 4x, 5x move, right? So, now it could be up to 8x, and I think we're thinking we'll get over six figures on this next move going into the next halving. And I think now that we see how the world is lining up, just basically they're printing to avoid deflation, is that people are going to try to hop off the banking bus. So, and crypto's more pure play than gold. So I'm a silver trader. So that's my background. Phil, my partner in at Trade Genius in the trading side, is that he climbed his way up through the crypto ranks. That's why you want to trade with us. I mean, Phil, my partner was one of the original miners. He started mining these coins in 2011. Okay, and he's not sold a single one. And in fact, he's been using the dips to add, and doing the the alts and all kinds of games to just keep adding Bitcoin. So he's driving this thing forward, and he has a good pulse on this. And we have all the math, as you've seen some of Phil's videos. So we have all the math. This is really truly a mathematical, stock and flow kind of environment. This thing is falling these parabolas really nicely, and so it's a good habit to get into is to get into crypto. And if you want to learn how to trade this, just come trade with us. And also you can go to tradelikeagenius.com too, Craig. So that way um, you can catch us, and we put some specials together so people can look at it for next Saturday. Just use Thanksgiving promo code, and then just let them know they came from you, so that you can get credit for them. Okay, and
Sounds good.
remember, yeah, if you come from this site, just so it's my way of rewarding Craig for allowing me on the show. So just tell him you came from this show, so he can get credit. And yeah, and so it's a really good system. And you saw now the new indicators that we have out. I mean, we make it so damn easy. It's literally buy and sell, green or red. So it's pretty cool what we did. We created algorithms that see the buying pressure.
Yes, and I've been using it for a while now, a couple weeks, and definitely liking it. I could share the screen and show it, but it's probably easier just to talk about it. I mean, the ribbon indicator is very good. I do use that. I've been looking at different time frames, and the nice thing about the Trade Genius indicators is you can work on the time frame you want to. Like I've found that for me, if I really want to be daring, the 4 hour time frame, you do get the buy sell indicators. Also, the ribbon. I forget exactly what you call that, but the ribbon that goes green and red, and you can.
Yep.
That's actually very, very helpful. That is very accurate. And of course, I've been trading beforehand and doing this crypto for the last 3 years, and so I have my own methodologies also. And Trade Genius's ribbon and the fulcrum indicator and the buy sells, and of course the sniper buy sells and such, they all work. I have found for me in the 4 hour time frame and the 2 hour time frame. If you're daring, if you like gray hair and white knuckles, if you want to do that, um, some days you wake up and you're in the mood and the market's right for it. But also the daily swings are just great. I found the buy sell indicators from Trade Genius to be really good. And what I like about it is I know I have a methodology already that works. And the nice thing is in incorporating Trade Genius, the indicators there, it's just making something that I already have that works more powerful. And so I can tell people after 3 years of trading crypto, yeah, the Trade Genius indicators work. And it took me a lot longer to create methodologies that work well, relatively comparably. But I tell you, it took 3 days of struggle, 3 years of struggle.
Yep.
And anyway, yeah, what Trade Genius is putting out is great. I like it. It's very, very helpful. And of course, if you are using TradingView, which you probably are, I guess you have to use the indicators. For people who aren't familiar with this, you can always set alerts. And so when the ribbon flips, when you have buy sells, etc., and different time frames, you can have it alert you, and then you can basically go, oh, time to go look at the chart and make a decision on what I want to do. So that's actually really helpful.
Yeah, and yeah, and so what you're seeing, what these ribbons is, 5 to 7 years worth of collaboration between Phil and myself as to um, what works. And what we found was pretty funny, because I come from a stock standpoint, Phil comes from a crypto standpoint, and the same buying and selling pressures are in both. So once we saw that, we then optimized, and so yeah, so we try to make it, traders are visual people, so we try to make it visual. Alerts are great because, like I said, I'm never following crypto because I'm always on the silver gold stock side, and Phil is primarily on crypto side and on day trade. I think you probably see some of that we do there too, and so it's just nice to get a flash. I mean, I woke up this morning, and in my alert area, I had like 9 alerts for alts and Bitcoin. So I'm going through them and seeing like their opportunities. For me, I'm a daily guy, so I'm looking for the pullback to add. I'm a hodler. I hate that. I'm too old. I say I'm a holder, and of Bitcoin and Litecoin. So I just look for a pullback to add, and what I tell people is, look, don't shove everything in. You need to use wisdom. 5 to 10%. If Bitcoin does what it's going to do, 5 to 10% will probably make you pretty wealthy anyway. And same with gold and silver. A lot of people I know shoved a lot into gold and silver in 2011, and gold made it back, but silver still hasn't even made it back to that point yet. Not that silver is not going to rocket too. It's just that if you get too heavy, sometimes you get stuck. And look what happened to Bitcoin, right? In 2017, we're still coming back to that high those are typical pullbacks, believe it or not. That's not a market failing. That's just a market that got enthusiastic and then it had to consolidate. So these are things that we can help you with because our system doesn't care about my emotions to Bitcoin. My system just simply looks at, hey, you got buying pressure, you got selling pressure. And by the way, I trade my stocks on the 4 hour. So I think I like the 4 hour. The daily sometimes, before you get a signal, you might miss a pretty good move, but on a 4 hour standpoint, you're not getting so many signals that you're just, like you said, you're just chop suey. So the 4 hour thing is a really good compromise. In 2017, I was literally trading Litecoin on the 5 minute on a Saturday, chasing the Koreans, right? So, there's a time and a place to do those things when you start getting this volatility. Once we break over 20,000 or 21,000 in Bitcoin, you're going to see a flood of whole new traders coming in here. And then you could probably take a small stash of a couple $1,000 and you probably get day trade weekends where you could double or triple your winnings. So that time's coming, but right now it's like, just hang on and hold on, until we break those new highs.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, Phil hadn't sold any Bitcoin, and I have swung in and out on the daily, and I found that there's times that works for sure. But yeah, right now I'm just on the daily. When we swing down, buying, and I'm not selling, just because it seems like when you're getting ready for, if you're expecting a move like we're going to have, there's no sense taking a chance on losing anything. So just buy the dips. I'm not financial advice to anybody, but that's what I'm doing for my swing trading, is strictly just buying, upping my positions. And also that there's the PayPal news. I'm still not sure what I think of it. I don't exactly know what PayPal is going to do yet, but it has definitely created some buzz in the crypto market that PayPal is going to incorporate Bitcoin. From what I've read and looked at, I don't know what that looks like exactly yet, so I'm not sure how excited I am about it, but I think it has at least part of the excitement in the market. A part of it is the PayPal integration.
Yeah, I think it's an acceptance thing. I was hoping we get more players in there so they could drive some of the costs from fiat into crypto down. That first buy is pretty steep. You're paying 3%. I think Coinbase Pro has it free, but you're stuck in the bid ask on stuff, and I want more players in here to drive those commissions down. So maybe PayPal getting in there, Square getting in there, some of these other venues get in there, they'll start driving the on-ramp price and cost, out of this. But yeah, I got chased into Coinbase because of every place I was going to, they were just chopping me out because I'm a US citizen. They didn't want to keep me.
Yeah. I still kind of, I always consider Coinbase sort of the AOL of exchanges, but I got to
Yeah.
admit, that's kind of my fiat gateway in and out. I know, because people say it's expensive, and I understand that, but when I really look at the costs compared to other things, oftentimes it's comparable or even better. I think they have gotten a bit cheaper. And then of course, if you're in Coinbase, you're attached to pro.coinbase.com. And if you want to, to have a limit order in to buy Bitcoin on a dip, pro.coinbase is not a bad place to do it. So I
Yeah,
still like it.
their execution. I know I have no problem with it either. I have a Gemini account too, but I do everything on Coinbase because I know it works. you know,
Yes, exactly.
I know they're regulated. I know it's not going to be like, if that exchange gets hacked, then we know there's recourse. And which is the big thing for people with crypto is that sometimes you get hacked personally, you have no recourse. So that's the nice thing about an exchange.
Yeah, it definitely is. Not sure how long I got you today, but so I don't want to keep it too long. But
Yeah.
there is something I wanted to mention just as we wrap up, because that's when I touch base on the market in the world and how things are going. And it does seem that if we do have Biden in office, it seems like it's time to short high tech and short commercial real estate and long gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Seems to be, at least at a very high level, a plan that I'm looking at.
You've been paying attention to me, Craig. That's exactly.
Yes.
In fact, I'm going to probably put a video out this weekend for Trade Genius telling people exactly that. I think commercial real estate is done. Put a fork in it, and then I think big tech's done. I think basically big tech has made an enemy out of 70 million people that didn't vote for Biden. And I think people are gonna the revenge is gonna be, they're not gonna riot in the streets. They're just gonna go to to Parlor and some of these other places. And if Trump eventually loses, this guy can instantly become the number one media empire in the United States, because he'd have 70 million people following him in an instant, and then he'd have all the people who hate him following him just to see what he says. So this guy may end up with more power with less constraint as a post-president than he has as a president, because he could speak even more freely about things he couldn't speak to before. So I think big tech's in trouble. Look, the engagements on Twitter and Facebook and such are going to just go down. YouTube has blown up so many people that on one side of the fence, that those people now are sliding over to BitChute et al. And then there's lawsuits now that are going to keep the cancel culture, I think, at a minimum, because the Supreme Court's chomping at the bit of a 230. So that's my short area. I'm definitely long. I've started making my position now in silver again. I'll start looking at some of the juniors, with that, and then we have to keep an eye on food. So that's going to kill the golden goose. And maybe you and I can talk about that next month. Everybody always asks me, what's going to kill the central banks? It's going to be the price of food. And we can talk about
Oh,
that next month.
I like that. Okay, so we'll take that on. That is a great Thanksgiving show. Well, food.
What
All
food after
right.
we eat?
Yeah, food in the end of the central banks. That sounds perfect. Well, Bob Kudla of TradeGenius.com or .co. It's been so great having you on the show. Thanks for filling us in, and we'll touch base next month.
Yeah, tradelikeagenius.com rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot, Phil.
tradelikeagenius.com. I'm not even sure what CO is. TradeGenius.com or tradelikeagenius.com.
Yeah, tradegenius.com was taken, so we had to do a CO. So
Okay, perfect.
tradelikeagenius.com is easier.
All right. Okay, I'll know all that in the show notes. Thanks a lot. See you later,
Thanks,
Bob.
bye bye.